Hello and welcome to this Fast Chat. My name is Adam Etherington, Principal Analyst responsible for Global Cybersecurity Services Insights at Omdia. As part of the Virtual Analyst Summit at Black Hat USA 2021, Omdia is running these short, sharp sessions to give you timely insight and advice in crucial areas of cybersecurity. Our topic for this Fast Chat session is IT security services. I'm very pleased to be speaking today with Theresa Lanowitz from AT&T. Theresa is the head of evangelism for AT&T Business in cybersecurity. She has a distinguished background in product management, software engineering, and is a recognized industry analyst and a global influencer. As a regular speaker on cybersecurity trends and emerging technology, poised to help today's enterprise organizations flourish, I'm looking forward to a rapid fire session to bring timely insights to all the security executives joining us today. Welcome, Theresa.
Thank you so much, Adam. It's great to be here.
Okay, let's jump to it. First question for you. At the secure operations level, what is the single most important or urgent area of cybersecurity to address in the current threat landscape and why?
Yeah, so if you think about what happened in 2020 and into 2021 with the COVID pandemic, that was a macro global event. And when we see these big macro global events, that always has a very big seismic shift as we go back to what is considered our new normal. So if we think back to the global financial crisis back in 2008, 2009, what that did was that really set the stage for things like server virtualization, the idea of doing more with less. And as we come out of the pandemic, what the pandemic really taught us is that digital transformation really needs to have security at its center. And if you think back to March of 2020, when people were seeing, we had news images of people just leaving their offices in droves, taking any type of device home with them that they possibly could, desktops going into the trunks of people's cars, and suddenly you now had corporate data sitting on somebody's dining room table. So that became an issue. And after the security teams got over that initial crisis curve of saying, we really need to make sure that we have enough VPN licenses for people to access our corporate network. We need to make sure that we have enough hardware devices for people. Once they got through that crisis curve, this idea of digital transformation really came about. And we've been talking about digital transformation for many, many years. And finally now we see cybersecurity really at the core of that digital transformation. And what digital transformation is now saying is an organization has to be resilient. And by resilient, that means that you have to fail less frequently. When you do fail, you have to learn from those failures, but you have to be resilient in making sure that you're able to provide business continuity and good business outcomes while that failure is occurring, as well as after that failure. So what we're also seeing now is that digital transformation really grew in terms of importance. We also know that we're on the cusp of a new compute era, moving into edge computing. Underpinning all of this is 5G. And through our AT&T Cybersecurity Insights report, we know that 93% of the survey participants say that they are on a 5G transformation journey. We know that 94% of those people also say that they're really focused on zero trust. And that whole idea of trust nothing, trust no thing, including an IoT device, and verify everybody and everything. And what we also learned from that is that 83% of the survey participants said that they believe that web applications are going to be a big point of challenge, a big challenge point for them moving forward. So we're in this new era of compute. We have to really focus on being a resilient business, and we have to really focus on tearing down those silos that exist within IT organizations across IT, the traditional IT operations organization, development, security, and so on.
Very interesting. And thank you. So let's shift gears now, because everything you mentioned there represents opportunities and threats that need to be considered at the executive level as well in boardrooms. And so cybersecurity and the impacts to corporate risks are increasingly becoming a boardroom issue that are being talked about, especially in the wake of recent high-profile attacks, notably ransomware and impacts on critical infrastructure. So my next question is, what is the most crucial piece of advice to elevate board-level visibility of cybersecurity risks and returns in the context of the resilient organization you talked about?
Yeah, and that really dovetails on the on part of the last answer that I provided to you was that if we look at 2020, 2020 really became this year where cybersecurity moved from being a technical issue to really being a business enabler. And the CISO, who had been laboring away in sort of the security area, so people finally said, "Wait, we have this really smart person in the form of our CISO. Let's take that information, that knowledge that CISO has, and really elevate it." So in 2020, the CISO really became elevated to that proverbial seat at the table with other C-suite executives. And the CISO also became an advisor to the board, as you mentioned. So this idea of security was elevated to the board. And the CISO is now talking about strong business outcomes, building resilient, and also helping to identify what that appetite for risk may be inside of an organization. And so right now, I think what you're seeing is CISOs are really now being tasked with doing three different things. One, they have that proverbial seat at the table with the C-suite and the board advisory capacity. The other is they really have to continue from the security front and make sure that they're looking at emerging technologies as we move into this new era of compute at the edge. And the third thing they have to do is they really have to be able to now work cross-functionally. IT is one of those things that we have spent decades building up those silos, as you so aptly point out. The CISO is now responsible for working cross-functionally and making sure that security is part of everything that is happening. So we hear the phrase shift left quite a bit in terms of security, saying that everything we're doing, from every type of business requirement to any type of development that we're doing, we have to make sure that we're really focusing on security, and that's going to help to reduce the number of security issues that you may have on the back end. So really understanding those vulnerabilities, figuring out what you need to do with those vulnerabilities, looking inside your own organization, understanding what your appetite for risk is, and so on.
Fantastic. We're quickly running out of time. This is a fast chat. So my last question for you, let's close it out by talking about managed security services.
Mm-hmm.
So as an industry analyst, I'm very aware of how AT&T Cybersecurity brings together managed security services and threat intelligence to help organizations. But I really welcome your insight and advice to anyone joining us today, especially in the context of security operations and those board challenges we just talked about. So my last question to you is, why should organizations, businesses, CISOs, IT departments consider engaging a third-party managed security services provider?
Yeah, so you have all of these global complexities. We have this remote workforce now, which is a hybrid workforce. We have increased cybersecurity attacks. We have very determined adversaries. And organizations are saying, you know what, fighting cybersecurity is not really my core competency. I'm in the business of building bicycles, or I'm in the business of financial services, or I'm in the business of selling flowers on Main Street. And what we learned from our AT&T Cybersecurity Insights report is that only 4% of the survey participants say they're going to handle cybersecurity on their own. And one of the big reasons is because they want to be able to innovate for their customers. They want to be able to innovate safely. And I have an example, healthcare provider who is one of our customers. They tried to build out their own SOC. It's very expensive. So they said, well, we're only going to monitor what's going on between the hours of 9 and 5 p.m. when we're here in the office. So the inevitable happened. It's after work, it's after hours, it's a long holiday weekend, so nobody is there Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They come back and they were the victims of ransomware. And fortunately, at that point, cybersecurity ceased being a technical issue and suddenly became a business enablement issue, and something that everybody in the organization needed to be aware of. So they took a look around and said, yes, AT&T Cybersecurity, you're perfect for providing us with these managed security services. And we have had great success with them, and been in a really great partnership with them.
That's great. And I really like what you said there about it not being a core competency. And that's something that we're seeing at Omdia around the shift to cloud as well. The cloud security is not a core competency of organizations, but they want to leverage the innovation and the capability that cloud brings. And partners have trodden that path before and can expedite that journey with them. Well, thank you for answering those three quick questions. There's fantastic insights there. To everyone joining us today, don't forget to grab your copy of the Top Tips report written by AT&T and Omdia. And so that's got some rapid fire tips in there to help you in your role. The best practices document will provide security professionals with advice to solve crucial problems and guide your buying decisions. Thank you once again, Theresa, for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Adam. It was my pleasure.
And that's a wrap for us. Everyone stay safe.